Hmm.
right? I heard Stu working on his brother. I got my motor skills. I crawled up. Stewie says to me, "How are you here?" I said, "I don't know what you're talking about. I'll do mouth to mouth." He was doing chest. And then the paramedics got there and all. And they moved me away. And Stu came over and said, "What happened?" I said, "I guess we hit the wire." He said, "You did. I heard it." I said, "I know. I saw you coming down the ladder. I was yelling for you to get Bruce." He looked at me. He said, "What?" I said, "Stu, I saw you." He said, "No." He said, "I turned around. You were both down. I came to
Hmm.
you first, rolled you over, foam all over your mouth, eyes rolled back, no heart rate. You weren't breathing." He said, "I did CPR. I gave you up for dead. I ran across the street, called for help, ran back past you, and then you crawled up."
It was only after the paramedics arrived that Danny learned the truth. He had been dead for several minutes before crawling over to help his friend. And that moment of returning to life wasn't for any specific mission, but for love, sparking a radical shift in how he approaches leadership and just his mere existence. He joins us to share not only the 5 principles he uncovered to help anyone move from functional fog into being fully alive, but more of his story.
Leadership sound bites. Real leaders, real moments, real growth.
Welcome to this week's episode of Leadership Soundbites with a super freaking special guest. So, Danny, I'm going to say for people, and then Danny, this is how I found you. It was on LinkedIn, and you popped up. I read part of your story. The tone of your post was like, I have to meet this guy. And then to find out that it's all this the shift that happened, and I want you to share it with people, is from a near-death experience that you had. And I think you were
Hmm.
electrocuted back in the 90s,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Anyway, and that had you shift, and I don't know how radically, how you are living life and
Hmm.
embracing it. And I love it. I love
Hmm.
it.
Great.
So you're a
Great.
keynote speaker and author, 6 books. The most recent one came out in 2025. So if humans are interested in having you in the room with them to influence their people, then they can reach out to you on dannybader.com, and I'll also put the link in LinkedIn. So I'm just going to do that. I know you have a quote for
Great.
us, and then I cannot wait to hear more about you because I've not been in the room with you,
Hmm.
and your story and what you do and the thoughts that you have for people. So it's off to you, sir. Welcome to the conversation.
Great. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Michelle, for being here. I think the quote that I would lead with and offer folks as we open up is kind of the foundational quote that I use, and it says, "There's a hell of a difference between just living and being fully alive."
What does it mean for you?
Yeah. Well, just living and I have three different levels I've come to understand we exist at life. And the darkest, most disconnected level is rock bottom, I call it. We've all heard that term. And
Hmm.
that's a place of fear and apathy and negativity, confusion. You're just stuck. And you're oftentimes in what I call the valley of the victim. You're not
Mm.
owning what's happening to you. It's everybody else's fault. There's a lot of blame. There's no possibility. There's no vision for a future. You're just kind of stuck. And I was there after the accident. And then in the middle, where it's reported, I've seen some studies where about 70% of the people are there, is what I call the functional fog. We are
Oh,
functioning in life, yet it's just a little bit foggy. It's like we're going through the motions. We're stuck in these routines, and they're not necessarily exciting or enlightening routines. This is where when you ask people, "How are you doing?" they say, "Oh, I'm living the dream." And it just
oh.
drips with sarcasm. So that's kind of the middle place there. And then the place where you really want to be, I think, the title of one of my books is A Radical Reverence for Your Life.
Hmm.
And that's, as you said, the way that I'm living. And I just want to, I strive to live that way. I know what it's like. I know what it takes, and I'm not there every day. I don't think
No.
anybody really is. And having a radical reverence for your life, radical means very different from the usual or the traditional, which would be the functional fog. And, reverence is just a deeper respect and awe, love, and appreciation for this gift of life. The functional fog, people go, "Was it bad?" I said, "Well, it's not necessarily bad. It's not terrible. It's okay." And though it's just okay enough that you might not be pushed to change it. And weeks go to months, months go to years, and you look back and go, "Oh my gosh, what's happening here?" So that's kind of where that quote came from. And I have certainly
Mm.
lived and existed at all three of those different levels. And I think we get there as individuals, teams, organizations, cultures. And the key is awareness, right? Where am I? What
Mhm.
level am I at? And then what's my strategy? What are the principles that I apply to kind of move me out of this? Because you're going to get to rock bottom. It's a hell of a place. Welcome to life. It's okay to get there. There's a lot of opportunity for growth. What's not okay is to stay there. And
Well,
that's the
and
key.
stay there for any length of time. And when you were talking about that, I don't know that 70% of the population is in the fog place. I think they may have been before COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And the sense that I have is the percentages may have shifted a bit.
Mm-hmm.
There are more and more people that what was it, victim of the valley of the
Valley
victim.
of the victim. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Rock bottom.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people in that state, and what I find, and I'm meeting with a group later today, and then another one is that it's not radical shifts
Mm-mm.
that can get us humans out of that state.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what happens a lot of times, and I'm be curious about your experience, I do executive coaching and leadership development, is when I'm
Mm-hmm.
in the room with people, they're in this space, this is what they know, and
Mm-hmm.
they don't know how to get out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, there's, in my back to life approach, there are
Yeah.
five principles that I think are really important. And the first one is to develop a vision. Vision's the ability for us to imagine what needs to be real. And people all get the concept of that. And, world-class athletes certainly use it. Businesses all have their vision, right? Organizations. Yet it's very neglected at an individual level. When I say to people, why are you really getting your ass out of bed every day? And where we talk about that 60 or 70%, that's the people going to work. I'm
Yeah.
going through the motions. A lot of that is report. ADP had some research on that. So a lot of that is, I'm just going for the paycheck and the benefits and everything else. And I think, well, okay, I understand that, but that's kind of a sad way to spend this beautiful journey called life. Is there anything we can add to that? I'm not saying leave that because we want to make money, we want to have security. Is there anything that we can add to it? So we develop a vision and then we have to seek support. And that's really seeking support through people,
Hmm.
and it's also being support. So relationships are really, really important. And oftentimes when we're down at that part of rock bottom, we're really blocking people out. They
Hmm.
don't understand what I'm going through. Nobody understands. Nobody can help me. All that kind of stuff. And then you have to know yourself, which is a deep principle. At the easiest level to comprehend that and start to do the work is to say, okay, what are my values?
Hmm.
Five, six, seven top values, and where am I on a score of 1 to 10? And then where those ones are like five, sixes, or sevens, then you say, okay, what, like you said, what little shifts, what actions can I begin to take that move me back into those values? And then the other part of knowing yourself is really pay attention to what's going on between your ears, because
Hmm.
your life is lived between your ears. That little voice, those voices, they run the show. Our interpretation of what's going on in our life runs the freaking show. And oftentimes that voice is not useful. So I have an
Hmm.
acronym I use with people: HUT, hold useful thoughts. Catch those crappy thoughts and just choose to listen to a better one. And they
Hmm.
go, but what if my life sucks? I'm like, that's even more of a time to have those positive ones. Don't say, oh, everything's great. Acknowledge that your life sucks. And here's how I'm going to move through it. Here's who's going to help me. Here's what it's going to look like in a month or 2 months from now. So you can acknowledge and embrace the facts and then just move through them. The other principle is to be still. I think it's there. We have three energies: our heart, brain, and lung. Right? I would say, what makes your body go? And people would say, well, my heart, my brain, my lungs, and then there's the fourth energy of spirit, and that's
Hmm.
that innate, intangible essence that's in each one of us, and it wants only what's best for us. And your spirit resides in stillness. So I think you really have to disconnect from the outer world and kind of listen and connect with that inner world so you can kind of really hear what matters most. And then the fifth principle that I talk about is just to evolve. Give yourself a hug and understand that you're not perfect, and keep undergoing growth and change, and it's gradual. So there are some things, like you said, when people are stuck, that's what they can kind of get into. My first book, Back to Life, is about a young man named Jake. And Jake is essentially me, right?
Yeah.
It's fictionalized a bit, but that Jake's stuck. So then he goes on this journey and he meets these people that talk to him about these different principles. So it's, it's the hero's journey. We've all seen that arc, right?
Yeah.
You meet this
Yeah.
person at their lowest point of their life, and then when you leave with them, they're on their way back.
Yeah. What you describe is why I watch Hallmark movies, because there is always that struggle and it works out great in the end.
Sure.
I'm not risking anything.
No,
Um,
no. My wife is a huge Hallmark person,
yeah,
and
congratulations to her.
she'll be in the kitchen watching sometimes, and I'll come in. I'll be waiting. Now wait, his wife died. This one never got married. They went to high school together, and I bet they're going to kiss at the end of this. And they're both going to be wearing really cool jackets. And she starts laughing, and yeah, but that's it. That's the
It's one
hero's
of those
arc.
people that totally blow the whole pot. And the plot
Yeah,
is
that's the
we
yeah,
know
that's
what's going to
it.
happen. We know
Yeah,
there's going to be a happy ending. And
right.
the thing, here's what I'll say is, while it's not the high school, someone died, the whole bit, we have control
Mm-hmm.
to be able to visualize, to your point with vision,
Mm-hmm.
what's possible. What do we want to bring into
Sure.
reality? What do we want it to look like? Because if it's this and we're stuck in the valley of victim,
Mm-hmm.
that's all there's going to be.
Yeah.
I had one later I was talking to, and I've heard it somewhere else, but he said my kids come to me, and he said if they say I can't do that, he's like
Mm-hmm.
I believe you,
Mm-hmm.
and if they say I
Yeah.
can do that, I believe you,
Mm-hmm.
and it's that simple. And I think part of it, Danny, and I can't imagine what it was like at the point that you were so young, right?
Mm-hmm.
When this, accident happened, near death event, all that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
that you had to be wallowing in, this can't be all there is to my life. There's got to be more. This isn't
Yeah.
fair, all the stuff.
Yeah.
But to be able to pull yourself up by at some point going, I have more control over this,
Yeah.
and that I actually need to visualize a different reality. And that's
Mm-hmm.
the thing, is we don't have to have, there was a book that I read when I went through coaching, I don't know, 9 years ago, 10 years ago. It
Mm-hmm.
was Untethered Soul.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, the last chapter was Lessons from Death.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember reading that because it was essentially the whole idea that if you were given 2 weeks to live,
Mm-hmm.
what would that bucket list be that you wrote up, of all the things
Sure.
that you want to do before you were no longer on this earth?
Right, right.
And the essential thing is, because I take stuff into bullet points, is don't wait to get noticed that you've got 2 weeks to live, because
Right.
tomorrow's not guaranteed. And I
Yeah,
think
you got
that's the
that right.
message that what you have that resonates with me. And it doesn't mean that you go through like fearful because tomorrow's not
Mm-mm.
guaranteed. You go through life being
No.
present in the moment
Mm-hmm.
and not leaving anything on the table because
Yeah.
tomorrow's not guaranteed.
Yeah, I think that's the key. I'll often tell people, the contemplation of your mortality should not be a sad and morbid, depressing thought. It should be a very inspiring, empowering thought. It should get you to ask what I call the sacred question. What will I create with the time I have left?
Oh, I
And
love that
when I say
question.
that to people, and sacred is not religious, right? Sacred just means that which matters most. That's a definition too. You've heard people say, "Oh, this is sacred to me." Well, they're just talking about something that matters most to them.
Mhm.
It could be a week's vacation in the islands every winter. This is sacred for me, right? Matters the most for them. So that's really the key is, as you said, there's when you get the fact that you're not going to live forever,
Mm-mm.
and you can kind of hold that awareness, it may be even in a respectful and appreciative and maybe even a playful way.
Mhm.
When that's the foundation, then a lot of the fear goes away, and what's replaced is a lot of freedom to kind of forgive other people, a lot of freedom to forgive yourself, a lot of freedom to take more risks and those things. But like you say, when you want to create, if you had 2 weeks, most of these people, when you say you 2 weeks to live right now, what's your bucket list? They're not going to parachute out of a plane or bungee jump or swim with sharks. Oftentimes that's what you think. They're going to go connect with the people that they love. They're going to go
Mhm.
connect with people that they haven't talked to in a number of years. You know what I mean? They may take a trip back to a special place where they've been before. They might heal some relationships. They may go back to church, however they define that, and connect with
Yeah.
something bigger. They're the things. That's when I talk, people think, oh my gosh, I got to just, quit my job and 10 bar in Costa Rica and, surf every day. And I'm like, well, that sounds pretty good, but probably not, you
Yeah.
know? So it's that, yeah, it's that shift. I think it's pretty powerful, when you get that.
It's and I go back to the question that you had, what will I create with the time I have left? And it's not, it can sound negative,
Yeah,
but the reality is none of us are getting out of here alive, right? I
right.
mean, so it is where's the impact? What do I want to leave behind? What do I
Sure.
want? It's like there's a question that came across, and I don't know where I picked it up because I listen to so many inspiring people,
Yeah,
is ask yourself in the morning, what magic am I going to create today?
sure.
What
Yeah.
magic? And so what you're doing is you're planting the seed in your subconscious for your
Mm-hmm.
subconscious to scan for those
Mm-hmm.
moments where you can create magic.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's like, how are you setting yourself up for the day? Are
Yep.
you waking up going, oh, here we go again,
Yep.
which is
Functional
putting
fog.
yesterday's
Yep.
tape in? Yeah. Or
Yeah.
are we waking up saying, today's going to be a great day?
Mm-hmm.
And those subtle shifts that we don't have to go through a near-death experience, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
but those are the subtle shifts that start to plant different seeds to
Sure.
where you start creating different experiences. I had a
Yeah.
client the other day. She went through a cancer battle, was a
Mm-hmm.
survivor, acute awareness around the time and how precious time is.
Mm-hmm.
She has not yet navigated through to this positive thing. And I've experienced that with a few people that have been up against a potentially terminal illness, okay,
Mm-hmm.
is that they're still in this fear space
Mm-hmm.
of I it's like the white rabbit in Alice in Wonderland. There isn't enough
Mm-hmm.
time. There isn't enough time. And it's like if you're living in that energy of
Mm-hmm.
fear, you're missing out on all the other stuff that's
Mm-hmm.
not associated with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's pretty true. And you and I both have certainly experienced people, with terminal illnesses that some of them passed on, some may have recovered. And when you get a terminal illness, I'm not saying that you're going to, celebrate and
Mm-mm.
if I was diagnosed with one, I would experience all those emotions as well. And I would trust, through my faith and certainly through my experience before, that I would really work to be as present as possible,
Mm.
and lead from love and let love come to me. And like you said, count your days more. I'll often say, don't count the days by the number on your phone widget. What day is it? Oh, it's the 9th of April or the whatever it is, the 7th. Count your days by the impact you make, and
Mhm.
by the courage and the trust that you have every day when you come back to say, all right, man, let's go. Here we are again. That's for me, that's how I work to count my days.
Yeah.
And that's what I offer other people to consider.
So I'm curious because this did happen not yesterday or last week or last month, but the NDE for you was a while ago.
Hmm.
Um, what's changed for you? And from when you first pulled yourself out of the valley of victim
Hmm.
and to where you are today?
Which took a long time, by the way.
Yeah. How
I would
long?
dance, yeah.
How long?
I think what's changed, there's a couple things that have changed, especially since I got older. I'm 62 now, and I was almost 29 when that happened. And people oftentimes will say, "Oh my gosh, yeah, but you're talking about something that happened 32 years ago." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm offering you these principles that I was forced to uncover because I was on the edge of life again. I died
Yeah.
once and I wasn't doing too good staying here. But what I'm offering you, these principles are proven and powerful. They've supported me for the past 32 years. When I got fired from a job, as a husband, as a father, when I lost my dad, when I lost my brother-in-law, all the challenges in life,
Hmm.
these principles are ones that you want to have close to you and practice them as consistently and completely as you can.
Hmm.
That's really the key. So I think what changed for me a lot, and I said it took time.
Yeah.
I often tell my wife and my sister Trish and my mom and Joe and Pat, dear friends of mine, Michael, without them, I would not have been here. I wouldn't be here. Life would have beat Danny Bader because it was
Mm.
doing a pretty good job. So you just kind of hang in there. And
Mhm.
that's what really changed for me is, these epiphanies and these moments that you have in life, when you have them, they're beautiful, but they don't change things right away. They can be the catalyst and the foundation for saying, okay, let's get to work on this, because it gives you a little bit of trust in the future that you can
Mhm.
create. My faith has certainly changed. I was raised Catholic. I still practice that. Jesus is my guy. I believe he is and was who he said he was.
Yeah.
But growing
There's,
up, I'm one of my sisters, the oldest, and then seven boys. We're like the Catholic version of Snow White,
oh
from the
yeah.
70s and 80s. And I went to church because I had to go to church. And if I stole candy, I was going to burn in hell. And there's a big guy with gray hair sitting up there waiting to say, you go here. So that all shifted for me. And my faith was really challenged after the accident because my friend died. He was 37 with three kids. One was 2 months old. I
Wow.
had no kids. I wasn't married. So, of course, that blame, I'm like, why me? Why did I come back to life? That's that question that kept haunting me in
Survivor's
in
guilt.
in a negative way.
Yeah.
Why him and not me? So my faith has changed in that this life is not all there is.
Mm-mm.
It's just all there is for us right now. And let's pay attention to it. And let's live it the way that when you look back on it, you're going to say, yeah, I did good. I wasn't perfect. I was present and I did good. And if we're conscious at the end of our life, maybe we'll even have a little smile on our face.
Um,
That's what I'm shooting for.
yeah, it's an interesting thing. I joke around with people because it's like the more decades I have on the earth, um, the more that people will listen to certain perspectives that I have.
Hmm.
And it's also, I'm not screaming to be heard. And so
Nah,
it's an interesting thing, right? Because the stuff that you're doing is you're offering up a way, right?
that's the key.
That's worked for you. You're not
Yeah.
forcing this on anyone.
It's just an
And
approach,
it
right?
is. And
It's
it's
just an
interesting
approach
because
to
there are
living.
so many and Danny, that your approach and then someone else will have similar stuff. There's if you did a Venn diagram, it would just be overlaps like crazy on
Oh,
all this
sure.
stuff because there are so many core themes. And
Hmm.
because we're so different, I mean, there's different types of fruit or, vitamins or whatever it may be, because we're all different humans.
Hmm.
But I think it's like I encourage people to pay attention to the themes.
Hmm.
There is evidence that they work, right? So if
Yes.
it's your five principles or someone else's stuff, I think that the message that I want people to have and hear, because there
Hmm.
is suffering with humans
Sure.
in the world,
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
the
I
message I want is
agree.
you don't have to do it. You don't have to suffer.
No.
There is
Yeah.
another way.
Yeah. That's how I always say, with these principles, I didn't invent them. I just uncovered them. And we grow, as you know,
Yes,
we grow out of tragedy or we grow out of curiosity.
yes,
I had to grow out of tragedy, and I'm offering people don't wait for tragedy. Just be curious. What are the powerful, proven principles for us as human beings that create more fulfillment and resilience in life? Because that's
yeah,
what we want, right? Fulfillment says I'm getting everything out of life that I want. Resilience is I can move through the struggles and setbacks and challenges. And there are these powerful, proven principles. Like you said, the names of them might be different, the terms might
yeah,
be different, but when these people come along, like you and I, coaches and authors and everything else, and
yeah.
all these big frameworks and all that, I'm like, okay, I get it, but
Yeah.
you didn't come up with anything new, man. It's
No,
it's
no.
you know what I mean?
We're just
We take
packaging it.
it, sure, we take it. You and I both, we package it in a way. I try to keep it simple, and I
Yeah,
use my story as kind of the baseline for when these showed up. And you try to you tell some stories that people might remember. You try to have a little humor,
yeah.
self-depreciating, and that's all. And like you said, just offer. You're not here to tell anybody.
No.
Telling doesn't work. And whoever has kids knows that, right?
No.
You just want to slow somebody down, right? And get them to observe their thinking and their behavior in light of their intentions, right? What
Yeah.
do you want out of life? Okay, let me slow you down and just maybe get you to observe how you're thinking and what you're doing about this. And you might have some new ideas.
What? So it's interesting because my experience has been with people is that what I share and what you share, and that's why it resonated so much with me, is I don't have any doubt at all that it works. Zero doubt. So when I'm sharing with people, there is a knowing
Mm-hmm.
in how I'm sharing it.
Mm-hmm.
This works.
Yeah.
Change this word that you're using. Don't
Mm-hmm.
own I'm overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
What is happening? What are you seeing? What are the facts that
Right.
you've packaged up as
Yeah.
overwhelmed?
It's all what we're saying. Yeah.
It is. And so you can see little light bulbs go off with people.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been in the room enough to see the shift in the humans that for me, that's the gift that we give people is you don't spend any money. It's, this is all you have to do.
That's it. That's it. That's
It's
it.
free. It's just
Yep.
free.
You don't have to read 400 books. You don't have to go to
No,
weekend seminars. They all help.
they do.
And like you said, somebody once told me, you're not the thinker of your, no, you are not your thoughts. You are the thinker of them.
Yeah.
And I was like, because
But
so
and
often, yeah, so often our thoughts are just running the show, and
yes.
we're just along for the ride, and sometimes that ride's not where we want to go. So it's really, and again, that's why I think stillness is so important, because stillness is not the absence of thought. Stillness is the ability for you to sit with your thoughts, sit with your emotions, and kind of separate and say, oh, yeah, yeah, these aren't serving me anymore. These are more
Yeah.
useful. So then where do you write these? Where do you record these in your phone? Right. So you can make sure that that's the thoughts that are rolling here. And then,
Yeah.
as you and I know, when we have those thoughts, right, that are not normal to what we've been having, right, when
Yeah.
we start to have more useful thoughts, then we have to go act from that thought pattern. We got to take action, because then it anchors the new way of thinking. You know
Hmm.
that. So too often people go, yeah, and I'm like, yeah, if you're just thinking this way and you're not doing anything and it's just bullshit, nothing's going to change for you. So it's, how do I think a little differently and sit with that discomfort? Oh my gosh, this is weird for me. Yes, and I say, okay, what would you do? What would a person that thinks this way do? Right? So
Hmm.
you just got fired from your job and this sucks. Yes, I get it. Great. And you say, I'm a resilient person. I know there's a job out there for me. Great. What would that person go do now that's thinking that way? They're
Hmm.
acknowledging that it's not the greatest situation for them. It's same thing with health, right? Any change, any growth that we want to have, we've got to get those good, powerful, useful thoughts, but then we have to go act from them. We
Hmm.
have to go act from them.
It's interesting because there's this difference, not friction necessarily, but the stillness thing. I
Hmm.
struggle with stillness. I really, it's
Welcome
not,
to the world, Ann.
it is not
And though, and
easy.
though, and though, look at what you're saying to yourself. I struggle with stillness.
Yeah, I'm
I
owning.
can't sit
Yeah,
still. I
yeah,
tried meditation. It doesn't work.
yeah.
These are all the things I hear from people. I have an assessment. People could take it out on my website. I think it's on the main page. Take the Back to Life assessment. It's,
Okay.
you go through those 5 principles. Um, and be still is always the lowest when I do my workshops. And people are laughing. It's the same thing. And I'm like, okay,
It's
well,
hard.
what would be the benefit? And then I've got some prompt questions like, well, if you sit and really be quiet, is there anything you're afraid of that might show up? And
Mm,
oftentimes people go, oh, yeah, shit. Lots of things, man. That's why I just want to stay, in the functional fog. I'm like, well, what's the price you're paying for that?
mhm.
If there is one. And most times they get it. And that we in the workshop, sometimes they'll fill the boxes out and share. Other people just go, I said, hey, I get it. Just let these be a prompt,
Mhm.
you know?
Well,
and would offer
they
people
can't
what I,
unsee it. They can't unsee it.
no, you can't.
Yeah.
But here's the
So,
thing I offer people too about you and I are talking about, doing the work and uncovering these principles. And most people, especially in corporate, I'll say, how many hours of meetings do you go to a week? And, oh
oh,
my God,
geez.
you have no idea. Zoom calls, and they're just like freaking
Yeah.
out. They're ready to kill me. And I said, but what meeting do you have with yourself about your life every
Hmm.
week? And they go, I don't. I said, you realize that you have 336 30-minute windows every week. 336.
Hmm.
Tell me right now, logically, why you should not spend at least one of those stopping and saying to the world, you know what, world, I'm not here right now. I'm going to take a look at my life and the
Hmm.
people I love and the people I lead and see if there's anything I need to do to make it better. And most times people get it, but then that's what they say, well, where would I go? What would I do? And that's where you and I come in and say, okay, well, here's a framework.
Hmm.
My electronic workbook is probably 22 pages. Now it's got big boxes they're going to fill out. So one page may
Yeah.
be one box where they're typing. But I'll say to people, I'll say the power, and they say, well, what can I ignore some of these things or whatever? And I say, yeah, some things might not resonate with you this week or this month. I say the power for you is not in the parts of this that you ignore. The power in this is in the parts where you pay attention and
Hmm.
that gets your attention. And then you
Hmm.
act from that. So
Hmm.
that's why I say to them, listen, I don't expect you to do all this every week. Just go through. This is a good framework. And depending on what's going on in your life, because
Hmm.
life is not predictable and it's not static, then you're going to go, oh my gosh, I haven't talked about this in 6 months. And now this is really resonating for me, around my values or around my relationships or, around maybe who I need to distance myself from.
Hmm.
Because sometimes we need to love people from a distance. That's a beautiful strategy. Right? There's a lot of people that you love and you want to
Yeah.
continue to love them. You just got to give a little distance because their
Hmm.
energy and their mindset is not what you need right now.
Hmm.
And people go, oh, that's not, no, that's self-love.
Hmm.
Love them from a distance. Say a prayer for them, send them a nice text every now and again. And if they start to come around and they feel like they want to grow a little bit, and you're not judging them, they're
Hmm.
on their own journey. But if they want to kind of do the work on themselves, I'd say, we all have to do the work. And
Hmm.
nothing frustrates me more, and I'm still working on this because I guess there's a little judgment, but when you see people just not aware that they need to do work on themselves. I mean, I
I
often as parents, and
I
I
don't
always,
I don't
how
judge.
can I be a better husband? How can I be a better
Yeah.
dad? I've
Yeah.
asked those questions a lot. Not always. I mean, early on, I didn't because I was not the best. I drank way too much for all the wrong reasons, and I blamed the accident for this and that. Da, da, da. I danced in and out of that valley of the victim an awful lot,
It's
and I'm indebted,
it's
and I love the people who
well,
hung
I
in there
was
with
gonna
me.
say is when you look back on it, I imagine, Danny, seriously, that the trajectory of your life
Hmm.
radically changed. Because were
Yeah,
you on a path to be able to impact the number of people that you're impacting now with what you're doing and
I
what
don't
you're
think
doing?
so.
Yeah,
I was the
yeah,
afternoon of the accident. I was getting ready to go tell my wife now of 30 some years, Lisa, who I loved. I've always loved. I just didn't know that I wanted to get married. And I was on my way to tell her that I had lived in Aspen, Colorado twice and come back, and we dated different people, and we always wound up
yeah,
together. But I was on my way to tell her, hey, I love you, but I'm going back. I'm going to get my real estate license. And that was 1992. So I probably, if I had to play it out, I'd probably be a multi-millionaire real estate guy in Aspen right
yeah,
now.
yeah.
I probably
Um,
wouldn't have any books, and I certainly wouldn't have Lisa and my three beautiful kids. So,
no, no.
it all worked out pretty good for me.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because it's looking at life and the
Hmm.
events that happen in life, right? The
Yeah.
somebody referred to it as those exclamation points, right, that
Hmm.
happen in life
Sure.
as those gifts and opportunities. It's like there's a decision to be made. Things happen. Life isn't smooth. Like I've always told my kids, if things are going really well for you,
Hmm.
buckle up because it's going to get bumpy. It's
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
It's life.
It will. It will. Be present and enjoy them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then, embrace the struggles when they come too. And that's a
Yeah.
tough concept for people to get. Embrace the struggle. I don't want this struggle. Well, you know what? You got it. So you might as well embrace it. You might as well just dive into it and see what needs to happen to move through it because
Yeah.
it ain't going to go away. The more you resist
Uh,
it, what is it? The more you resist, the more it persists or something of that nature.
well,
One of those
yeah,
clever
it's like,
lines, but
yeah, it,
yeah.
and I encourage people not to take it personally.
Hmm.
It's like there was something. This was years ago. My folks are both gone, but my dad was alive, and we used to talk all the time. And I was having a
Hmm.
struggle. This was back in the '80s with something, and I was on the phone with him, and I'm like, basically, what terrible thing did I do to
Oh
deserve
yeah.
this, right? To
Oh
deserve
sure.
this, right? The
Yeah.
victim mode stuff. And my father's
Sure.
like, you didn't do anything. It's just part of life. And I'm like, then what
Yep.
did you do that I'm paying for? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's like,
I'm
no,
paying.
it doesn't work like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one of the things that as you talk about a shift, I said the same thing, why this accident happened, why, we hit it by an inch or two, or there was even speculation that we didn't even hit the wire with the ladder, that it arced because it was a high tension line.
Oh,
Right?
wow.
If they're not insulated, the electricity can jump off of the line to anything that comes near it. So that's neither here nor there now because that was
No.
all an investigation, lawsuit, all that crazy stuff. Um, but you really, yeah, you really, there's a quote from St. Francis de Sales. It said, and for me and my faith and anybody else that might have that, God or whatever you call it, God's either going to protect you, right, or give you the unfailing strength to bear it. And
Yeah.
that's kind of what I get back to, right?
Yeah.
Because I believe God can protect us from
Hmm.
suffering, and that's not necessarily how the world unfolds. The
Mm-mm.
world just unfolds.
Yeah.
And when we get slammed upside the head, I think faith in something bigger,
Hmm.
right? Call it whatever you want. I think it's the foundation for moving through it.
Hmm.
It really is, and I've seen it. I've seen it, in practice many times,
Hmm. We
for
don't
myself. For
grow.
myself,
But we just don't grow when things are easy.
no,
We don't. There's no reason
no.
to. We're not going to challenge ourselves doing, just for that. Some people do, right?
Yeah,
But the
yeah,
majority of us, other mere mortals,
yeah.
we,
No, we
we're
just
just,
walk around a little too full of ourselves when
yeah,
things are good, right?
we're just going to
Most of
stick
us are like,
with,
yeah, I'm here.
yeah, yeah, no.
Oh
That
man,
but do remind me of
yeah,
a shirt, and then that when you were talking about God and preparing us for stuff, or at least, it was some t-shirt years ago that I saw that said God only gives you as much as you can handle.
yeah, yeah.
And then the rest of it said, I wish he didn't have so much faith in me.
Hmm. Yeah, right. Yeah.
So it is that thing of we can do this,
Hmm.
right? Whatever this is,
Hmm.
um, we just have to open our brains up and our
Hmm.
minds to help possibilities, what it looks like,
Hmm.
visualize, to your point, what's on the other side of it.
Hmm.
Believe in success. It may not play out the way that we want it to. Um,
Hmm.
just know that it's going to work. I
Yeah,
mean, and this is where we learn and grow. When people are having challenges, leaders that I'm working with, and impossible, challenging situations, I'm like, this is where you grow. Take advantage of
right.
it. Don't waste this opportunity.
That's it. That is it. I
So,
agree.
I appreciate time with you. Your story is fascinating, and I just
Mm.
scratched the surface of it.
Yeah.
I will put, like I said, links and stuff to, because I'm curious about the assessment and the other stuff that you said for people in
Hmm.
the description. Um,
Hmm.
what are some closing thoughts that you have for people that you just want them to walk away with?
Yeah, I would again, and some of the audience is probably thinking, gosh, what happened to this guy? So I'll give it to you real quick. Uh, my buddy Bruce and I were lowering a metal ladder. We thought we were clear of the electric lines. For some reason, we got electrocuted, 8,000 volts. We both died. Bruce's brother Stu, who was also on the scene, was up on the roof, and he came down to me When I had the accident, when I had the electricity, there was no pain or panic. There was just peace for me. I knew I was dead. And it was as if I was standing in the yard looking at him coming down the ladder off the roof, and I was yelling to him, another ladder, not the one we were working on. And I was yelling to him to get your brother, get your brother. And then I just felt myself pulled away, my spirit, my
Mm.
soul, my essence. And I was joined with something or someone I believe to be God. And I had a
Mm-hmm.
choice to stay or come back, and I didn't want to come back. And then I expressed the question, what about my mom and what about Lisa? And then I was right back in my body,
Mm.
right? I heard Stu working on his brother. I got my motor skills. I crawled up. Stewie says to me, how are you here? I said, I don't know what you're talking about. I'll do mouth to mouth. He was doing chest. And then the paramedics got there and all. And they moved me away. And Stu came over and said, what happened? I said, I guess we hit the wire. He said, you did. I heard it. I said, I know. I saw you coming down the ladder. I was yelling for you to get Bruce. He looked at me. He said, what? I said, Stu, I saw you. He said, no. He said, I turned around. You were both down. I came to
Mm.
you first, rolled you over, foam all over your mouth, eyes rolled back, no heart rate. You weren't breathing. He said, I did CPR. I gave you up for dead. I ran across the street, called for help, ran back past you, and then you crawled up. So, he would always say, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 minutes. It wasn't about how long I was gone. It was just,
Mm-mm.
he would say, Dan, you were dead.
Mm.
There is no question. So I would just offer to people here, this life is not all there is,
Mm-mm.
and you see, I'm smiling when I say that. And I'll also continue my smile to say it's all there is right now.
Mm-hmm.
So wherever you are in life right now, if you're enjoying it and things are great, then by all means enjoy it and be thankful and see where you can help some other people. And if you're at rock bottom and you're in that struggle, just know that you're not intended to stay there.
Mm-mm.
Connect with that essence, connect with that spirit of yours, take a deep breath, connect to the love of other people that want to help you and just start to move forward. Doesn't happen in a day or two.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens. It can
Mm-hmm.
happen.
Yeah. Um, Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Because you're right. People are wondering what happened to him. What's going on?
Hmm.
You can go to
Yeah.
ChatGPT or Google, and I'm sure it would show up.
Yeah, there's
Um,
some stuff out there.
it's uh, it's just a freaking powerful reminder
Hmm.
that even when it feels like the end,
Hmm.
it's not. Because when you talk about that story to where you didn't want to go back, and then you ask the question about what about your mom? What about Lisa?
Sure.
It just basically told Spirit,
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
did want to go back. You
Hmm.
weren't done.
Yeah. But when you think I didn't come back for my mission, I didn't come back for my purpose, I
No,
really didn't even come back for me. I came back because I expressed love for other people.
exactly.
Right. And that's the
Exactly.
foundation. One of the
Exactly.
greatest definitions I've ever heard is love is the condition in which the happiness of another person is essential to your own
Mm,
happiness, well-being. And that's really it. If we can have the foundation of love
hmm
for this life, for others, for ourself, let that be the foundation. And then, yeah, go do everything else. Get jobs, make money, buy things. That's all good. Just let love be the foundation because that's all you're going to have at the end,
hmm
you know?
Yeah. Lead from here. Lead
Yeah.
from here. So
Yeah,
yeah, I totally
absolutely.
agree.
Well
You're
said.
awesome, awesome human, Danny. I appreciate being
Thank
in this
you. Right
picture.
back at you, Michelle.
Yeah, I
I'm glad we
appreciate it.
connected.
Yeah,
Been my pleasure.
I totally agree. Yeah. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Until next time, this is Leadership Town Bites with Danny and Michelle. Thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing. Like I said, I'll put all the information in and have a freaking awesome day. Thank you.